Do you think that women should be obedient to their husbands?
Yeah, I think that they should be obedient to their husbands when their husbands give them a rational request or directive. But I think that husbands and wives should lead each other to Christ and to the goodness of their family.
So what do you define as rational?
In accord with reason. So something that doesn't go against what reason would dictate.
Can I have an example?
Of something,
so like I'm assuming crimes.
Of something that's rational or irrational.
Yeah, irrational.
Yeah, if a husband says
like obviously no crimes, right?
Yeah, or if a husband says, I want you to lose a massive amount of weight, for example, that would put if your husband wants you to do something to change your body that would put your health at risk, I would say that's irrational.
Okay, but a normal amount of weight would be fine.
I would say I think it's fine for husbands and wives to want each other to be healthy, but it's very quickly that if a husband or a wife asks for a person to be of a certain weight, that can easily be more of out of a desire for vanity than for the other person's well-being.
But what about health?
What about health? I think it's fine. I think it's good for husbands and wives to want each other to be healthy.
No, but I'm asking the husband. Why do you always bring it back to the husband? Because I'm asking about the wife. I didn't ask you about the husband.
Because I'm saying
for the husband, can he ask that his wife stays a certain weight? Is that rational?
It's rational for him to ask her to be healthy, but staying at a certain weight your entire life, that's not necessarily going to be healthy. Like saying, I want you to always be 120 pounds. Like, hey, I got pregnant. I'm kind of getting past that now. I don't like that. That would be irrational. He would not be allowed to do that under your thought? I think it would be insane if a man said that his wife needs to stay at a certain...
Why? Why? What's wrong with men having standards? What's wrong with that?
Pearl, you do realize that that's absolutely, literally there was a joke in The Office where BJ Novak says some supermodels lose weight when they're pregnant. That shows that he's just an insane chauvinistic person. To demand that a wife stay at a certain weight, even though as you get older, you naturally gain weight. And especially when you get pregnant, you gain at least 9 pounds of weight. That would be insane to demand that someone stay at a certain weight.
Women lose it all the time.
I fail to see how any of this is relevant to marriage, by the way.
Well, what I'm trying to understand is your mindset. So why can't men have standards in marriage? Because if you're saying that men can't have standards in their own marriage, you're saying it's irrational for a guy to demand his wife stay a certain weight. Why? Why is that wrong?
To stay a certain weight during their entire marriage?
Why? Why is that wrong?
Because
I've seen women do it.
Would you like me to answer the question?
Go ahead.
Okay. Because biologically, our bodies change over time. They'll naturally gain and lose weight in different circumstances. And your worth as a spouse, whether you are a husband or a wife, is not derived by your weight. That's just a shallow thing. Now, I think that both husbands and wives should encourage the other should encourage.
It's your job to be attractive.
I think husbands and wives should both maintain attractiveness.
Right, but why do you always have to bring it back? Because
why do you only focus on women?
Right now, because we're asking about the deal for men. Yeah. So I'm looking at this from the man's point of view. What does the man get out of it? Is this a good deal? He can't even ask for an in-shape wife.
He gets a woman who
can't even say 120
Can I answer the question?
Pounds?
Can I answer the question?
I'm asking.
He gets a woman who's promised to stay with him, even though statistically he'll gain 30 or 40 pounds.
And that because
does she have the right?
Women's job has far more of a job to be beautiful than men. Men's job is to protect and provide.
So do women have a right
what is wrong with a man asking that she stays a certain weight?
Because it's shallow. It's fine to ask someone to be healthy, and it's fine to encourage your spouse to maintain attractiveness, not to just let yourself go. But that's the same for husbands and wives. Neither should just let themselves go. But at the same time, each one should be merciful, knowing that time and age come for all of us.
The reason that the obesity, I've looked that up before, the reason that the men are more overweight than women is because you don't look at visceral fat. So when men are very high muscle percentage, they're still considered overweight more so than women. So a more accurate way to look at that is visceral fat. And women have higher rates of visceral fat than men. So actually women are more, and if you look at extreme obesity, women are more obese.
Yeah.
So so I don't know why you're kind of lying with that stat, trying to act like men are equally obese. They're not.
Well, men are still overweight, but that still doesn't show none of that shows marriage is a bad deal for men.
Should men marry women that have had abortions?
Should men marry women that have had abortions?
Should men marry women that have had abortions?
I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker.
Should men marry women with STDs?
I wouldn't say here.
A quarter of women have herpes. Should men marry them?
I'm going to answer.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to answer your question. I would say just as it is not a disqualifier for if a man facilitated an abortion, and 90% so for every woman who chooses to get an abortion, 90% of the time, the man is actively or passively supporting it. So just as it's not a deal breaker for a woman.
I'm asking for the future man. I'm not saying this, that he asked her to abort this is another man's kid. She's had an abortion.
No, what I'm saying is I'm applying an equal standard here. So I would say that it is not a deal breaker for a man to marry a woman who's had an abortion, just like it's not a deal breaker for a woman to marry a man who had facilitated an abortion.
Should men marry women that have slept with over 10 men?
Should they marry someone who's slept with over 10 men? I would say that when you have more sexual partners, that's definitely that's something that's concerning. That could be a red flag.
So you would say no?
But that doesn't apply. I'm not going to say that someone is unmarriageable because of one particular trait.
What about porn?
Okay, what
about
porn?
women that have participated in porn? Should men marry women that have participated in porn?
I would say that that's definitely a red flag, but it is not it's not a deal breaker.
Do you have a son?
Can I answer the questions, Pearl? Because you can keep asking questions and I'll never answer
because
them.
it just would be easier if I got a yes or no, because you keep giving me these roundabout and I'm just at yes or no.
No, I'm giving you good answers.
Go
okay,
ahead.
so I'd like to finish about pornography.
Go ahead.
I would say it's not a deal breaker if a woman had participated in pornography. Much the same way it is not a deal breaker. Well, it's something to be very, very worried about. So I'll answer it this way. It's very hard for me to find anything that's a deal breaker for marriage, except for maybe diagnosed severe mental illness, for example, or addiction to drugs, things like that. But that would apply to men and women. So when it comes to pornography, I would say it's very concerning if a woman had previously engaged in pornography, just like it is very concerning if a woman chooses to marry a man who's previously viewed pornography.
But this is my question. It's like, why can't men have standards? And this is what I've noticed from the trad community and like the conservatives. It's like the quality of women keeps going down and down and down. And we can't even definitively say, hey, maybe we shouldn't marry porn stars. Maybe we shouldn't marry overweight women. You know, it's like we constantly get rid of standards for men.
No, I'm fine with standards as long as...
And we can't even... No, you're not, because you're not even definitively saying you shouldn't marry a porn star. You would never in a million years tell your son to marry a porn star.
An active, currently working porn star?
Even a previous porn
you
star.
said former.
Even former. You would never. Come on, someone you loved.
Okay.
And this is why.
You can keep talking, or you can ask me a question. Because I was going to say, I do believe in standards, Pearl. I just believe they should be applied equally. So if women have a past in porn and that makes them unmarriageable, fine. Then we should just say any man who's looked at porn, don't marry him either.
The equal. Is
it okay for men to look at porn?
You can ask that during your cross-examination.
The equal equivalent would be a man that's participated in porn. That would be the equal equivalent if we're really going to go apples to apples here. But what I'm asking is, okay,
there's lots of men who participate in porn that way.
You know, a quarter of women, up to a third, have an STD. Should men marry them?
Should they marry them?
Yeah.
Just the same reasons would apply if you asked women, should they marry men who have STDs? Because men have lots of STDs. And if it's okay to marry them.
But why is it what about the men? It's like the
because
craziest
men and women
thing.
are equal. Men and women are equal, and we should treat them equally.
It's the craziest. I don't think men and women are equal.
Are they equal in value and dignity?
No,
Sorry, just real quick. Trent, you can ask questions in your cross-examination.
Sure.
This is Pearl.
That's fine.
I'm not coming at this from a religious point of view. What I am saying is that you keep telling men to lower their standards. Because you were saying, wife up these whores. 3% of women, 100 years ago, men got a virgin. They got a virgin, 4+ kids. 3% of women are waiting till marriage nowadays. You're saying, wife them up anyway. Doesn't matter the risk. Who cares?
Do you have a question, Pearl?
So, yeah, I'm going to go back to STDs, not a deal breaker, yes or no?
No, they're not. If they're not a deal breaker for men, they're not a deal breaker for women.
Okay. On top of that, porn, not a deal breaker?
Having been involved in pornography? No, it's not a deal breaker, but it's something to be very concerned about. The same as if a man had been behind the camera doing OnlyFans work or working at OnlyFans. But if he's truly repented, then people can really change, and we should give them mercy, whether they're a man or a woman.
People can change, but it doesn't mean they statistically do. And women that have made those decisions, statistically, statistically, it's not a happy ending for most of them. So that's the other question. Why would you sign up? Would you ever sign a business contract that someone's paid to leave? So if me and you are going to do business, and I get a bunch of money and your children if I leave, you would sign that contract?
If you get my children, because maybe we're pairing our YouTube channels together, probably not going to sell off my kids on that. But it's very common in business deals, Pearl, where if you have a high value business partner and you really want them to be a part of the venture, you might include things like a buyout clause or severance pay. That's not that uncommon to ameliorate risks or to encourage them to take part in the project.
Okay, so would you would you sign the contract or no?
Would I sign a contract? You've made it very
where I'm paid to leave.
Where you're paid to leave if you're my business partner. It depends how much and what risk. Why can't you answer the question? Because your question is underdefined and it can't be answered. You've asked it in a very vague way, so I can only give a vague answer and reply.
Okay, me and you sign a business deal, and in that business deal,
go ahead.
And in that business deal, I get your whole YouTube channel if I leave. And I get your children. Are you signing it?
No, I'm not.
Exactly. That's the point. No, you're not signing it.
Because you haven't.
And this is the thing. They act like it's one-off instances. And this is what the academics tend to do. They'll say, here's a study funded by this organization, or here's another study. And they want you to not believe what's in front of your eyes. Men are not signing up for marriage today. And you can say it's that marriage is a great deal for men, but men are naturally logical. They do what makes sense. 100 years ago, men were still men. Same software. They married women in 3 months. There's a reason it's gone up to 3 years.
I would sign a contract where if you're undergoing significant risk, and the whole point of things that if a marriage divorces is that women undertake risks. If they come and then they give up their careers and they stay home and raise children, for example, and they do that. The majority
of women aren't doing that. The majority of women are not doing that statistically. 3 out of 4 women are working, so that's not the majority.
The point is, if they go and do that and they take part in a marriage,
they don't want
you're undertaking risks when you're involved in marriage. Well, as I stated before, women are twice as likely to end up in poverty after divorce than men.
Yeah, because women are bad with money.
No, what happens is women
have 80% of the world's debt. Women have 80% of the world's debt. Women are not good with money. And many
as I
men,
showed in my opening statement, men have the majority of debt.
Many men, it's not true. Women have 80% of the world's debt. And the other thing that they don't take into account is that
in this country, men have more. But go ahead.
And women have 80% of the world's debt. Women are not great with money, and men earn more as well too. And the thing is, you're not addressing the suicide problem. Do you not think that's a problem?
Of course, suicide's a problem. It's more of a problem for men who never marry.
I'm asking in divorce. They're 9 times more likely to commit suicide after a divorce.
They're 9 times more likely than a divorced woman. You're misreading the statistic.
And in family court, if they find within 5 years, many men do commit suicide. What do you think? You think it's just made up? You think it's just fake? All these men that are saying my life is ruined.
Yes,
let him answer it. Go
ahead.
No, because I've actually read the studies, and the problem is you're doing the comparison fallacy here. You're just picking, hey, if you get married, this bad thing can happen to you, or this bad thing can happen to you, and that's true. But if you choose to not get married, you can also have many bad things happen to you. You can grow up and have no social connections. You become a recluse, and you're more likely to commit suicide. You're more likely just to not take care of yourself. And the statistics show that on average, ever married men, including divorced men, live longer, are healthier, and rate their lives as happier than never married men. It's a statistical fact.
Because women date happy men.
So
women pick for these things.
How do you know that?
Because I'm a woman. I'm a woman. I know what we pick for. We like tall, handsome, good-looking men.
Is every married man tall, handsome, and good-looking?
Not every, but he's usually one of those things. He's usually one. Like he's usually either successful or handsome or good. Women don't marry homeless men off the street.
There's a big difference between tall, handsome, and successful and homeless. There's also average.
And so my point is, women tend to pick above average men. We see this on dating apps. Women swipe right 5% of the time. The number one way people are meeting under 30 is on dating apps.
That's because on dating apps,
but
3
you don't know what you're talking about. You're not even out dating.
I do. Because on dating apps, Pearl, the reason that women are so choosy is because there are 3 to 4 times as many men on dating apps than women. So men will be constantly swiping right. Women can be more choosy in that environment because there's just so many more men. But in real life, when you look at a 1993 study, another one by Taylor and another one by Taylor done in 2011. I would like to finish. Before Taylor study in 2011 shows that men and women, when they get married, they tend to be within the same social range and attractiveness. So while for dating and hookups, you're correct. Women on social media apps, because there's so many men to pick from, go for the higher quality men. When it comes for marriage, people tend to marry within their own social and attractiveness value bracket.
Right, but that doesn't disprove what I'm saying. Women pick a small percentage of men when given the choice. That's not true, because I'm talking about marriage.
We're talking about marriage, not Tinder.
But that's the number one way people are meeting under 30. And that's the thing, like a lot of you guys are so out of touch. You don't see, like, these studies take years to come out at some time. I can tell you firsthand what's going on because I actually talk to the people.
No, I agree. It's dumb to try to meet your spouse on Tinder. That's dumb.
Right, but that's what's happening. Right. That's where the world is going.
Right.
And you're encouraging men to clean up women's mess. And I say men shouldn't have to do that. Men shouldn't have to sign a contract where women are paid to leave. I think it's so simple. If people are paid to do the wrong thing, why wouldn't they do it? Why would, I'm not saying every woman will, but every woman can.
What woman is going to want to say, gee, you know what would be great?
Don't ask questions. Let her go.
Yeah. Well, I'll go. Well,
you can answer it, but
yes,
don't
I will
ask her
answer
question.
No, the women aren't saying, gee, it would be so awesome if I married this guy and then got full custody of the kids. So now I'm a single parent and I have to take care of these kids. Good thing he sends me $440 a month to help with that. That doesn't sound like a great deal to me.
$440 over 18 years is over $100K. That's life-changing money. That is life-changing. And this is the thing. This is
raising children on 3 kids on $440 a month.
And this is the thing. This is the other thing that you don't think of. Oh, this is the other thing. See, I'm not used to. I always have to write it down. You said that men don't fight for custody. This is the problem with men in statistics. This is the problem when people just read studies and they're not actually in the field. You don't know why. You don't know why men aren't fighting, because a lot of times men are in the position they cannot afford to fight for custody, and the lawyers will tell them not to do it because they spend $50,000. You know, I interviewed one guy, $1.5 million in Texas. $1.5 million on a divorce. He still didn't get primary custody. These cases are common. And if you spent a day in family court, if you actually were in the field, you would know.
Okay, so that's an anecdote, and it also doesn't say anything about marriage, because if a man hooks up with a woman or cohabits and she gets pregnant, he can have the same issues. So this is not unique to marriage.
Well, yeah, but marriage puts them at a higher risk because they're on the hook for alimony as well.
Alimony is only paid out in 8% of marriages.
I know, but what does a man get out of marriage that he doesn't get out of a live-in girlfriend? What benefit?
Well, he doesn't. One benefit, he's not a 45-year-old guy saying, "Can I bring my girlfriend to the party?"
Who cares?
One, he's not that. He's a mature, stable person.
Okay.
What does he get out of it? He lives longer. He's healthier.
No. What benefit does he get out of specifically signing that contract? What does he get? Women give children outside of marriage, so that he doesn't get that. The women gain weight after marriage. He doesn't get that. And all of the stats you're saying you're attributing to marriage, I would disagree.
Well,
I would say that women tend to marry happy, successful men.
That is just a correlative theory that you have, and that's not true, because if you just look around at men, and when you do longitudinal studies that control for success, you see that's not the case. One longitudinal study found that after a man gets married and upon the birth of his first child, he works 10 to 20 hours a week more than unmarried men.
Right, because women love spending men's money. Of course he's got to work more. Even car salesmen will tell you the final say is who? The woman. The wife.
It's because now he's grown up, Pearl. He's grown up and he realizes life isn't just about him. He has to take care of other people.
My wife's credit card spending is off the chain. And that's the thing. I am
Men
in the
have
field.
more credit card debt than women.
I am in the field. I am in the field. That's the thing.
What field? What expertise do you have in this?
Because when you actually interview the men that have gone through this, you have a completely different perspective. And that's the thing, because we just went through COVID. How many studies did they have? And experts that came out and said, COVID, you should take the shot. Oh, sorry, I don't want to YouTube you, but
you have 1 minute left.
But my entire point is you can make a study that says anything, but if you look at reality,
so studies are wrong except for the ones you cite for your positions.
If you look at reality, you would never sign a contract that someone is paid to leave, and there are just not enough wives to go around.
You have 40 seconds left. Feel free to ask him more questions.
No, I think that's it.
All right. No problem. All right, we've got 20 minutes. Again, you're asking the questions, you're responding to them.
All right.
We'll try not to talk over each other, just for the sake of those at home, as best as we're able. Ready, set, go.
Alrighty.
It's kind of fun.
It is fun. You'll get addicted to it after a while.
I was a little nervous, but it's kind of fun.
Then you get right into it, and it's just fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Alrighty. We brought up something earlier about men. Do you think men and women have equal basic value, like equal dignity?
What do you mean by dignity?
They have the same intrinsic goodness. Men and women are equal in their basic value, their goodness as human beings.
Like I think that, because it depends, right? It depends how, like, I think that men do more good in society than women. And I'm assuming that's like the tweet you're talking about. But
no, I'm asking because earlier I said men and women are equal and you denied that. And I said, I agree that men and women are unequal in many ways. But surely, like, for example, do white and black people have equal dignity?
Yeah, sure.
Do men and women have equal dignity?
Sure.
Okay, good. That's really good to hear. All right. So you say marriage is a bad deal for men. For a marriage that does so, because a majority of marriages do not end in divorce. For the marriages, at least let's say this, for the marriages that don't end in divorce, are those bad deals for men?
If the wife gained a significant amount of weight, I would say bad deal. Most men don't want a fat wife, I would say. If the wife cheats, I would say bad deal. Most men don't want a cheating wife. Mm-hmm. If they're in a sexless marriage, I would say bad deal. Most men want, I think most men, if you said, hey guys, do you want to get married? Your wife isn't going to sleep with you after you have 2 children. They would say, oh, hell no.
What?
Oh, hell no.
Pearl,
So,
what would be the best, let's say a man says, I would like a long-term sexual relationship with a woman.
Okay.
What would you say is the best relationship kind for him to obtain that?
What do you mean by best?
If a guy says to you, Pearl, I would like a long-term sexual relationship with a woman, what kind of relationship should I pursue? Marriage, cohabitation, dating? Which would be the best strategy?
It depends on the state you're in, because some states have different states have different laws.
Just in general. Would you say?
I don't. There's no general. There's no general answer because it would depend on the state.
Why would it? Because what you're saying is that the harm.
For example,
let me finish because I get to interrupt now, and that's where it gets fun.
Go ahead.
Because what you're saying is, it's not. Even though the majority of marriages don't end in divorce, you still say those are a bad deal because women gain weight, even though men gain weight also. But
what about the men though?
Do men in long-term cohabiting relationships, do those women gain weight?
Not as much, but the difference is it's easier to get out of. So if a woman gains weight, it's much easier to break up with a girlfriend than it is a wife.
Okay.
So you're able to have higher standards.
How much weight can a woman gain in marriage before you consider her unmarriageable?
Depends on the guy. I think it's unfair more than like 20 pounds, 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are you doing, ladies? Get on the treadmill.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay, and I think it's good for women. I think it is good for women if men have standards.
But according to that Gordon Larson study, cohabiting women gain. What was it?
The studies I've seen, it's 18.
Less. Less, but they still.
I've seen around 10. I've seen 10.
That's the study you're citing for 24 pounds gain. They gain 18 pounds in marriage. People. The problem is, if you're saying that it's a bad deal for men to be in a relationship where women gain weight, and if women gain weight in all relationships, aren't you really just saying women are a bad deal for men, not marriage?
No, I'm saying that women, the difference is in a long-term relationship, you can say you need to change or I'm going to go. And women tend to act better when men have standards.
Okay. Do you agree that married men rate themselves? Do married men live longer than unmarried men?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so that's
because I think women tend to pick healthier men.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a woman. We want, I mean, why do you think women are throwing themselves at these like NBA player? We want the good genes.
Are most men who get married not NBA players?
No, but you can see when you look at the men that women are throwing themselves at, you can see what women select for.
Okay. So, but you would agree though that even if that is correct, even if it's correct that women choose men who are happier and healthier, if a man chooses to get married, then that would seem that he is or has made himself to be a happy, healthy individual.
Yeah.
Right?
If
he successfully marries.
Can you say the question?
If a man successfully marries a woman, does that mean he has become a happy and healthy individual?
Not because of the marriage,
No,
but
but
she was probably selected because he was that type of person.
So he's made himself into that kind of a person. He's disciplined himself. He's, made himself at least somewhat successful, happy and healthy. Okay, good. So he becomes that.
I wouldn't attribute it to marriage, though.
But
I would attribute it to the, I think men are going to do what they're going to do. They're on a mission.
On average, though, does marriage take that away from men, their happiness and their health?
I would say yes. I would say there are more men in unhappy marriages than happy. Out of the original 100 that got married.
Do you have a
so
okay,
if you take the I'm answering the question.
Go ahead, sure.
You want
That's fine.
So the study you're talking about 35%. I've heard that's a bit dishonest. I've heard it's more 50%, 45% of marriages end in divorce. The last one was from 2023. I know it was a little off because of COVID, but I think if you include sexless marriages, women that belittle their husband, that's really common. Women that make fun of their husbands in public.
Then you're taking it away from my main point. So you're claiming that these happy, healthy men who get married, the majority of them, they lose their happiness. Do you have a study that shows that? Because let me finish. Okay. I have cited the General Social Survey, Gallup surveys, hundreds of thousands of people who are tracked, Harvard Adult Study, 80 years, that married men rate themselves as happier and healthier. And
right,
the majority of them do.
But you're attributing that to marriage.
I'm not. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that even if marriage is negative in some ways, it doesn't take that away from them. You're making the claim that the majority of married men aren't happy, but you have no study to back that up.
I'm saying that you can back it up when you look at 40%. Let's say 40% of marriages end in divorce. Okay, 40%. Now you have 6 left. A quarter of them are sexless. Boom, that's over 50.
That's not true. A quarter are not.
There you go. Women on average, okay. And then on average, so at least half of the women gain 25 pounds.
I'm going to ask you another question. I'm going to ask you another question again. So we do surveys, and we ask people if they're happy. And I've cited multiple studies, okay, where hundreds of thousands of married men are asked if they are happy. Okay. And the majority, 80% to 90%, say yes. Can you cite a study that shows that the majority of men in marriage say they're not happy?
Well, you're saying in marriage. I'm including divorced.
Sure. That's
my point. But my original statement was...
and I'm going to interrupt because it's my turn. My original question was, for marriage, since the majority of marriages don't end in divorce, and if divorce is the only bad thing, then marriage is a good deal. But setting that aside... You cannot show that married men are unhappy. You have no data for that.
But I also added in, I said if a woman gains weight, that's a bad deal. If a woman cheats, that's a bad deal.
Do the men say it's not worth it? But do the men say it's not worth it to them? And they leave?
You asked what I would classify as a successful marriage. Or you asked, I made the premise.
The debate is not whether Pearl thinks marriage is a bad deal.
You said I could make the premise.
Yeah, but
I said a good deal is classified as a woman that stays in shape, F's her husband, and stays married and is obedient. Okay. So if she's not having sex with her husband and she's gaining weight,
who should determine?
That's 60%. At least half of them are doing that.
Who should we look to determine the standard of whether marriage is a good? Let me finish. Whether marriage is a good deal. Married men or Pearl Davis?
I think you should look at men and what they're choosing, and they're not choosing marriage. Because if it was a good deal, it would be an easy sell. Good products get sold.
Is exercise
good products?
Is exercise a good deal? Or is exercising a good deal?
Exercising is a good deal, but
most people sign up for it?
I wouldn't say those are the same thing. Because again, if women were benefiting men, like they were 100 years ago, if we look at 100 years ago, men signed up for marriage within 3 months. That's all it took.
All right, here's my next question. Here's my next question. If marriage is so bad, including people who end in divorce.
I didn't say all marriage is bad.
Okay. If in general marriage,
I said out of 151 will fail.
If it's more likely, if it's greater than not, that marriage it will be bad. And if that's the case, why do 65% of divorced men get married again, even though they've already been through a marriage that's failed? If it's so bad, Pearl, why do the majority of men get married again?
Well, I would say, people don't always make logical decisions when it comes to love. But my question would go back to, why aren't men signing up in general?
Okay, so So you're just, so anybody who just disagrees with your standard of marriage, they're just being illogical.
No.
Okay.
I said a good deal. I clarified it in the beginning. I said good deal, doesn't gain weight, sleeps with her husband, stays married. I think that's the bare minimum.
Why can't this be a good deal for marriage if a married man says that he's happy?
Because I don't think that I think happiness studies, like how do they measure it? They
literally ask the person if they're happy.
Yeah, people lie.
Okay, so it's just a giant conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy.
Okay, so do you think most men who are married are unhappy?
I think most men that sign up for marriage out of the original, not stay married, that sign up for marriage, 51 are unhappy with that original deal. And we can agree at least 40% divorce, right?
Yeah, there's a 40%.
Okay.
But
what percent of men rate themselves as happy?
You don't get to ask the questions.
Fine.
I get to ask them. And as I said before, just because a marriage ends in divorce, it doesn't mean that person now thinks that marriage is a bad deal, since the majority of men who get divorced choose to go back and get married anyways. I want to go back to some of the different.
Why don't the majority of men sign up for marriage?
You don't get to ask. I'm going to go back here.
Because if it was such a good deal, they'd sign up.
Yeah, well,
good products get sold. You think Elon Musk is running out of his cars.
Okay.
When they first came out, anyways. I don't know about now, but
all right.
I heard that truck was bad.
All right. Let's see here, because you've brought up
80% of women get HPV. That's crazy.
Okay. What percent of men get HPV?
Similar, but they're only the sexually active ones, and there's a higher percent of sexually active women.
Yeah, I guess I'll start asking these questions. Do men have a lot of STDs?
A smaller, they're at a lower rate than women.
How do you know that?
You can Google it. CDC.
Okay, but still, do the majority of men have STDs who are unmarried, sexually active?
Well, if they're sexually active, but the minority, this is the thing. You guys don't know what's going on because you guys have been out of the game so long. The number one way that people are meeting is dating apps. Women swipe right 5, 10, up to 20% of the time. What does that mean?
Okay.
A minority of men can even sleep around. Okay. So when you guys are saying men stop sleeping around, a minority of men even get the choice to do that.
Do men cheat?
Yeah.
Okay. So if a man cheats and he leaves his wife to be with another woman, is it fair that he should have to compensate her by paying for things like child support now that he's abandoned her?
Is he going to be an active father?
If a man,
it's one thing. So
I'm going to ask the question again. If a man,
if
a man is married to a woman, they have 3 kids, and he says, "Wow, I'd like to be married to this other lady instead that I had an affair with," and he abandons his wife and children, and his wife has been raising these kids, and now they're on their own. Isn't it just that he should compensate them for putting them in that position by paying child support?
How many kids? How old?
Let's say 3 kids, 3, 6, and 9.
3, 6, and 9, and he completely abandoned them. Not even.
So he tells the wife, "You can have full custody of the kids. I want to go and get remarried." Shouldn't he have to support them since he was an awful person and abandoned them and put them in this position?
You know what? Sorry. No, I don't believe in child support. I don't believe in alimony. I think it's equal. Women have fought. We have fought for equality.
Okay.
Wait, we have fought for equality. We got it. So now you get a job like everyone else. It's a sad situation, but overwhelmingly, men aren't the ones doing that. Women, there are far more deadbeat moms than deadbeat dads.
Do you think you simp for men?
No.
So you don't call it simping for men and saying that that if a woman does something bad, she should have to pay consequences for it. But if a man, I'm going to finish. Okay. If a man abandons his family because he wants to screw some other lady and puts them into poverty, you're saying he shouldn't have to spend a dime on that.
Yeah,
why?
Equality, baby, because women abandon their families all the time and they're not punished, they're rewarded. So I say equal rights, equal lefts. You guys fought for equality, here it is.
Then shouldn't the answer be that instead of saying both men and women should be allowed to be awful people, shouldn't we say men and women should both be held to higher standards?
I would say, I don't, it depends what you mean by higher standards, but what I would say is I don't think we should have child support. I don't think we should have alimony. I think it's wrong.
So
I don't
if
think,
a man he just leaves, his wife has been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, 3 kids. She has been out of the workplace, going to have a difficult time finding a job. And I know personally women that this has happened to, and he leaves and goes has sex with someone else. We're not talking about other women being bad. You're saying in that case, the man shouldn't be compelled to provide for the family he abandoned.
Well, I would say for the same case that if women cheat and leave for another husband, they shouldn't have alimony or child support either. I'm saying in both cases we should not have alimony.
Let me
and
ask you another
child
question.
support.
Let's say you have.
Let
me ask you this.
I don't believe in paying people to make wrong decisions.
Okay.
I don't believe in that.
All right. So if a woman, let's say you have a stay-at-home dad, successful woman, has been out, she's boss girl.
Can she be a lawyer?
Sure. She's the boss girl lawyer, turns into the She-Hulk when she needs to, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And she's making a lot of money, and then she leaves her husband and kids, says, "Hey, Frank, you can have the kids. I'm going to run off with this other lawyer at the office." And now he and the kids are in poverty. Do you think that she should have to pay child support to them?
Nope. I think he should get a job.
Okay.
And so should she.
So you don't believe? Do you believe in marriage at all?
I believe. What kind of marriage? That's the. I don't believe in marriage as it is today.
What
if we tomorrow got rid of child support, got rid of alimony, got rid of all these incentives for bad decisions? Fine. Then I would have no problem. But my issue is, one, the quality of women is lower than ever before.
Pearl,
the risk is higher, and women are paid to
Pearl,
leave.
what is marriage?
One person for a lifetime, and the woman submits to her husband and is obedient for a lifetime.
Okay.
But I am not. And see, I guess my head goes in a couple directions, because the other thing is. Today, it's nothing.
Okay.
Today, you said the average marriage is longer than 7 years. Let's say it's 12 years.
The median length is 21 years.
The average, let's say 21. That's still not a lifetime. And a quarter of divorces are gray divorces. So it happens when people are in their 50s and 60s. So that's the other thing about these stats. It doesn't predict who in the future gets divorced. It says today. So it doesn't include people that are separated. I know couples in their 50s and 60s. They've been separated for years. They're still counted as married. So my issue again is marriage as it is today. And I just think you would never sign a contract that pays somebody to leave. I think it's super logical. If someone's paid to do the wrong thing, they're going to do it. And what are women doing?
Okay.
They're leaving. I'm so shocked.
If marriage is a lifelong union, and let's say a woman does what you say she should do, right?
I don't say women should do anything.
Well, you say women should be obedient to their husbands, right?
If the woman gets married, but
if
some
a woman
women,
gets married, should she stay home and raise the kids, Pearl? If she
Well, it depends, and I can't give you a straight answer. Like I can't give you a straight answer. It depends. What does he want?
Let's say he wants her to stay home and raise kids.
Fine. Then yeah, sure.
And you think that that's a reasonable thing. So
the majority of women aren't. That's not the majority.
And
that's the thing that.
No, let me finish. So if a woman does that, then she takes a significant amount of risk, right? She makes herself. Does she take risk in choosing to become financially dependent on one person?
Yes, she does, but women aren't choosing that. That's a funny thing. Women are having 1 to 2 children. They're in public school. So let's not act like these women are home housewifing it up.
Okay.
These kids are in public school for 8 hours a day.
You're right. Men and women. They aren't choosing marriage. Both of them aren't.
True. But didn't you say men are in control of marriage? That's what you said earlier.
Yeah. So really, it's more they're not choosing to do it. Right.
Exactly. And women aren't choosing because women are not wives today.
Okay.
Man up and marry these whores.
You got 1 minute left.
Okay. Do you think that men are marriageable who've looked at pornography?
Yeah.
How about men who have helped run the camera at OnlyFans?
What % of men do that, Trent?
No, I'm asking you the question.
This is come on.
I'm asking you a question.
Who have run the camera? Personally, not for me. Run the camera at OnlyFans.
All right, we only have a few seconds left, so I'm just going to take it back to the main thing, the final main question.
Okay.
Okay. Do just a yes or no. Do the majority, 80% of men who are married, say they are happy? Yes or no?
They say it, but we don't know if they're telling the truth.